Well, look at that. We are live. How's everybody doing? Thank you for joining us and tuning in. You got Josh Carey. You do have Eric Cabral. It is the On Air Brands PodMax Masterclass. You know what it is. It's another Friday, as I've been saying, TGIM, right? TGI Masterclass. Why isn't it? Today is our deep dive into the first of the 4 C's. It is clarity, gaining clarity on your message. And the overall title of this entire series is Activate Your Audience. Isn't that what every one of us wants to do? It's how you gain their attention, how you get them to care, and how you grow their interest in your offer. Am I speaking your language, Eric? What's going on?
Hey, you're speaking my language. You're speaking the audience's language. And folks, I just want to remind everyone and thank everyone for being in here and participating and joining in on the fun. And we're here to give and we're here to share our experiences, our audience's experience, and this is interactive. So please remember that you can make comments right into this feed. A lot of you last week or 2 weeks ago were going right into On Air Brands private messages. Now, please keep in mind, if you do that, you will be talking to someone that will engage you in terms of how we can help you and provide you with our services. So that if you want to comment into this, do it live in the comment, or if you're watching this later, please highlight in your comment replay and then your comment, so we know to come back to you and you watched it in the replay. So back to you.
Oh, well, thank you. And now, not only back to us, but back to you, the person joining. Who is this masterclass for? Well, over the next 60 minutes or so, we are going to do a deep dive, like I said, into the first of the 4 C's, clarity, how you figure out your message, how you get crystal clear on that message, and how you put that message out into the world so the right people care about you. This session is for you if you are an entrepreneur, if you are a business person who has something to say, something to offer, something to give, where you want people to respond, where you have something brilliant, incredible, and helpful to offer people. And what's missing, or what you want to improve on, is just getting more of the right people to care, to perk up, to take notice, and to take some form of action. And that's what we're going to be doing today.
That's awesome. Before we get started and focus on clarity, really the message here is all about clarity and figuring out what your story and your message is so that people can resonate with it. Speaking of story, really quickly, why are we here? Who are we to tell you how to elevate your brand or your personal brand? Well, I was in corporate America for 22 years, over 20 years, and I realized that I needed something else. I needed to get to the next level. And how did I do that? I took pieces of strategies from other people and implemented them. So podcasts, social media marketing, building my brands from the ground up, literally me at the keyboard, figuring things out. So that's how it all started. And now it's grown and flourished into multiple companies, this being one of them, On Air Brands and PodMax. So I just wanted to be able to share what we've learned over the course of years and what we've implemented. And hopefully you'll get a ton out of this. And we're going to even bring you live examples. So more to come. And hopefully you stay tuned. If not, you can always come back to the replay. So Josh, What's your story, my friend?
Well, before I get into that, I do want to reiterate, this is interactive. We see the live comments. It's great to see them happening. So if you have questions, comments, or thoughts, do put them in. We will address them. We have a Q&A slot at the very end of the show. So the idea here is about gaining clarity on your story. Why? So you get people to care, because really you are the gatekeeper, my friends. Absolutely nothing happens before somebody buys into you, right? As they say, people first need to buy into you before they buy into what you're offering. And it took me a lifetime to figure that out. Spoiler alert, here comes my story, right? I look to drop this in to every everything I do, every chance I get, because that's what we are teaching and preaching. That's what you have to do. I spent 40 plus years hiding. I showed up in every situation, hiding all of my talent, all of my ability in exchange for seeking approval. It took my two children to show me a better way, on and on and on. These are some of the sound bites that I pepper through everything I do. And it's in that I hope to get the attention of the people who can relate to that. And those very people wind up caring about that. And once they do, they say, you know what? I'm in a very similar boat. Maybe I don't have two children that helped me see a better way. Maybe I didn't spend 40 years in hiding, but I can relate to it. I can make sense of that. I'm attracted to that. And what happens? You become more attractive in the traditional sense of that word. You attract the right people to you. Do you think in the 4 decades that I went into the world seeking approval that I attracted anyone, least of which did I attract anyone to what I was offering in my business? Of course not. In fact, I repelled them because I didn't feel confident and secure in who I was. So I was unattractive, again, in every sense of the word, until I made the choice, the deliberate choice to figure out what I need to do and how I need to send that out into the world to attract the right people. It's an ongoing process that I work on deliberately every day, but that is the point, is to figure out who you are and what your message is through your entrepreneurial efforts so you can attract the right people, you can activate that audience, you can get them to care, get their attention, and get them interested in your offer. That's the only way it happens. And that's what we're on a roll to continue to do during this session.
Love it. Beautiful, beautiful. I never get tired of hearing Josh's story, and I imagine that your audience, if they know, love you, they will not really grow tired of it as well, because I love the guy, and he's always testing, tweaking, and modeling, and leading by example. So,
well, let me just
you,
point
brother.
out one more thing on that.
Yeah.
This very scenario right here, right now, in real time, the fact that I am, my goodness, how did I get to a point where I'm in this scenario where I'm able to teach a master class, let alone with you, Eric, right? And I don't say that lightly. I think it's all been proven. When we first met, in order to attract that scenario to even exist, I had to have been a certain person. If it was a couple of years prior when we met, it never would have happened. So the very fact that I'm able to do what I'm doing today is testament that what we are talking about works. It's the only way you can get to where you want to be. So the very fact that I am here right now and doing everything under the Hidden Entrepreneur, under On Air Brands with Eric Cabral and the entire On Air Brands team, my goodness, to be in the same room with them and on the same meetings with them is just extraordinary. But it's only because I made a choice to figure out what my story is and decide to tell it over and over again. So, Eric, why don't we give a recap as to what the 4 C's are? Because today is about clarity and you can apply it to yourself.
Yeah, so we've developed something really quick and easy. A lot of people are interested in strategies and high level things, but we want to also bring it down to the brass tactics. How can I implement strategies so that I can move forward and elevate my brand, my personal brand? And we put together what we found works for us. We've distilled it down to the core essence of building a brand. And that is called what we call the 4 C's. So what are the 4 C's? Number 1, you have to have clarity, right? So clarity in deciding what is your message, what is your story that will be very clear first to you, right? And then to others. So then you share that story and have people resonate with that story so that they will begin to follow and like you. So then the second is community. So as a result of having your message out there and resonating with people in your audience, you will by default, organically start to grow a community. That's how it happened with me in the entrepreneur circle. I just started to put the content out there and started to push it out, and people started to reach out to me, and I started to meet people in person, and we started to form relationships, which became a tribe and a community. So then the third thing is connection. So once you start to have those pieces in place, the foundation, that cement has now dried, you can start to figure out, okay, let me put up the framework, and start connecting the dots of how do I make this work? People resonate with my story. I'm starting to build a community and a tribe. How can I start finding the people and the businesses that I can start to help and fuse with so that I can grow and we can all grow together? So that leads to the fourth, which is collaboration. You start to make the dots, connect the dots, and the connecting of the dots is really you building relationships and making them stronger with current relationships that you already have established by collaborating with other people and other companies that you can help elevate. So this is all, and I'm always preaching this, abundance mindset, growing with others and helping others and offering value because they need what you provide, right? So jab, 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 is the Gary V sort of mindset where you give, 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 and then you ask. So that's exactly how we implement our strategies. You're witnessing that here, pulling the curtain back, because all we're doing is offering. And that's what you do for others. You give, 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 and then ask, because you know the ask you truly believe in, and you truly believe in your message and what you can do for others. Because it's not about, oh, I don't want to be salesy, or I don't want to seem, well, just because you've had bad experiences with people selling from stages and with, manipulation and things like that doesn't mean that has to be you. You don't have to do those things. You can really, truly help benefit people by genuinely giving them something and knowing and trusting in your product and service, because it will help if they use it. And you can, there's many different strategies that we can go down separate from this, but those are the four things that we just want to focus on. This one being clarity, and then the next episode, the next lesson or masterclass will be next Friday, where we'll take a deep dive into community, and we're going to bring in special guests that are going to be able to offer a different vantage point to help you, grow your community. So
I
back to
love
you.
that you I love that you mentioned you don't want to be salesy. Certainly, every entrepreneur at some point in their career gets that feeling like, oh my God, I don't want to be that person, that salesy, pushy guy. But really, what we're talking about all day is the antidote to that. By sharing your story and pushing out your message, you inadvertently wind up attracting the people that say, I love that. What do you have for me? And then they look to see what your offer is without you even hitting them over the head when you do it consistently and confidently and deliberately over time. So what we're going to do now is we're going to bring on camera here, Lauren Heath in just a few moments. Lauren is the CEO of Presidential Pet Care. Now, if you know me and you know my history, you know that the professional pet industry is somewhere I spent the better part of 10 years playing in. I ran my own digital marketing agency and served that industry. So I've known Lauren for a while. Last time we did our masterclass a couple of weeks ago, Lauren was watching and tuned into the session. And she happened to have a few good aha moments that she shared with us. So I dug a little deeper and asked her if she could share some of that with her. And we realized very quickly that she is a prime example of clarity. She has connected the dots to say, my goodness, I get it. I see what's happening here, and she is in real time on that path. So that's why we're very excited to bring her in now, so she can firsthand share her story of her story, and we can sort of get in there and tinker around and coach and train her in real time with you. And again, whatever we're talking about with her, put it into play for yourself. You should easily be able to figure out, oh, how can I make this applicable to my life, my goals, and my business? And you'll see that very quickly.
Awesome.
Oh, right on cue.
Well,
Welcome, Lauren Heath.
yeah, welcome, Lauren.
Hi.
Thanks for
Thank
joining
you
us.
Thank you for having me. Full transparency, I'm very nervous, so
Don't be, please.
It's okay.
You're amongst your friends and your family and tribe here, so yeah,
Thank
we're
you.
excited to have you here.
And certainly that's a technique that I've used many, many times, just coming to the table and saying, all right, I am shaking here. I'm very nervous, but let's go. And that's the point, isn't it? Part of my story, pushing through the fear, overcoming fear, not letting it take over me. And you're testament to that right now. You're like, you're not letting that stop you. You're like, great, let's do this. So, like I said in the intro, you attended our class a couple of weeks ago, and you shared that you had some aha moments. First, start with what it is you do in your company present day, and then we'll sort of tie in what was missing and what you're going to be going forward now incorporating. But set that base and foundation for us.
yeah. So first of all, I do never get tired of hearing your story, Josh. Just have to add that in there.
Oh, thank you.
Every time I'm just like, so my company is called Presidential Pet Care. We are located in Northern Virginia, so about 45 minutes south of DC. We provide dog walking and pet sitting services. We also do overnights. So we do several different types of pet care, whether our clients are at work, well, during a non-pandemic when they're at work, and they need someone to come take care of their dogs so that they're not in their crate or alone all day. Or when people travel out of town, we take care of their dogs and cats, birds. We've had all sorts of different types of animals. So basically, we're there when parents can't be.
No tigers, no lions,
Not at this point, no.
Okay, so now you do that, but really so do many others, right? Across the country and across your area, which right, none of us are unique in our product or service. So now the fun begins. So what was it that you connected last time during the show that made sense to you? What did you put together that now needs to be done?
Right. So one thing that I figured out recently in the past year or two that makes us different is that we are all about being force-free, fear-free, and stress-free for our clients. I'm actually taking a fear-free certification course right now, but there are certain tools that we don't use at all, and we have very specific procedures and protocols and ways in which we handle animals that fall into that force-free, fear-free, stress-free category. So that's something that makes us different. Where the aha moment came in a couple of weeks ago during the class was, so the whole reason I kind of got into pet care was I did social work prior to starting my business. So I worked at a domestic violence shelter. And the shelter that I worked at was at the time in 2010, which now 10 years ago, which is crazy. It was the only shelter in Virginia and only one of 9 in the entire country that also had a shelter for pets, because many times people don't leave an abusive situation because they don't want to leave their pets behind. Obviously, if someone can abuse a human, they probably would abuse the animal as well. So that just kind of floored me, and I started doing more research about the human-animal bond, kind of hopped around in social work for a while and was doing pet sitting on the side. So one thing I'm very passionate about, from that field and just as a human on this earth in general, is that humans, people, should be able to live, safe, happy, healthy lives. And the aha moment came in because I realized, oh, I had that belief when it came to humans, and I have this similar belief with pets, and they're actually the same thing. So I never realized that, my experience as a social worker, like I was told that story at meet and greets or when I'm talking to clients on the phone. They ask, why did you start the business? And I would explain that story. And then my story just kind of stopped. It didn't kind of continue on as why I'm doing it now. And I kind of just had a moment where I was like, oh, okay, that's why. Here's the bridge. So it was really cool to have that connection, and I'm still figuring it all out. Is why I'm here.
Well, I think you figured it out. You figured it out because you went right from number one, clarity, and you jumped to the second topic, which would be, connection. And I think that you're able to, or well, the third is connection, but still, you're able to connect the dots and figure out what the message is, and how it's already going to resonate. Well, first off, it's really powerful for you, right? It evokes emotion and passion when you think about it internally. Now, that will resonate with people because it's true in your story and you feel it, right? So it's so powerful to have a story. And I know a lot of people probably watching and listening are struggling with that idea that, how do I tell a story that, because it's so personal to me, who's going to care, or how are they going to connect with me? That's my story. Well, no, it's not true, because many people, we don't know, there's millions, billions of people out there. And it's always about just putting it out there, and they'll find you. You'll find it. You don't have to hit every single person that comes in contact with you with your, oh, you have to relate to this. They will come to you and they will say, hey, Lauren, I love what you said. And then you'll find their stories unique and the similarities. But yeah, I think that that's really powerful. And we thank you for coming on and sharing your aha moment, because aha moments and wow moments are massive when it comes to these type of interactions and these sort of courses and building communities. So did you want to add anything, Josh? I know. So I love the quarantine moment there, Q moment, where it's like, I was doing some stuff yesterday live, and my kids were screaming in the yard, and I was like, if people hear it, I mean, we're all in the same boat.
Oh yeah, I'm not terribly concerned or care. Believe me, me. I'll bring them on, and that I have brought them on into live broadcasts. They're my everything. They're my reason that I've gotten to this point to begin with. But I got a new ring light, like a big ring light, right? So it's sitting right there. Now, again, full transparency, and I've mentioned this before, my current office is my 4-year-old son's bedroom. So Martin came in. He just came into his bedroom, right? He's like, I'm going to walk into my bedroom. That's all that happened. Harrison walked into his bedroom and he sees Daddy. Now, he's seen this before. He's seen the setup with the table and the laptop and the mic and everything. But I got this 19-inch ring light right there.
He was fascinated.
That he's never seen. So he walks in and now he's like, what's that light? What's that light? And I'm like, okay, this isn't going to end well. I can't just go with the flow. We're in the middle of something here. I got to mute this. And then
like father, like son, because I remember having a dry run of our new highly produced, system here. And I was like, I need to show this to Josh first, because if we go live with the bells and whistles, he's going to go, what's that light?
I love it. Yeah. So, it was adorable. And then I was like, and then he's like, is that so they can see you? It's just, he's learning. It's wonderful. But yes, going back to Lauren here and her story, incredibly so. So what I said earlier was that you're telling what you do in the business and the service that you offer. And I pointed out that, yeah, great, you do that. And so do others, right? That in and of itself isn't unique, which again, everybody listening, what we do on paper may not be unique, but you are, and your story and your message and your reasons are. So we have to figure out how you get that portion of the story out. So people say, my goodness, you are incredible. I like this. Of course I want to hire you. I like you. Again, you are the gatekeeper, right? They don't buy they don't buy your product until they buy into you, right? It's necessary. So Lawrence, talking about your message, you started this business, you found your way into this business so admirably, so chillingly, because you were doing social work for domestic violence space for women where they allowed pets. I mean, first of all, the tie-in for the pet is extraordinary. So you now are going to do what? You're going to start coming to the table and offering this message over and over again and tying it in. What are you thinking? How are you going to start that?
Yeah, well, it just goes back to what you're saying, the whole, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And I think I had just before been limiting my why to just pets and the impact that I want to have on the animals, which is obviously very important, but it's really that I want to have even larger impact on my local community and the world, at some point in my life. So I think just kind of talking more about that and just documenting this process as I'm learning it and figuring it out and just sharing with people what I'm learning based on my experience and as I'm doing it. I'm still kind of figuring how like what that journey looks like. And I hope my clients and viewers and customers can be involved in that too and tell me what resonates with them, just like they have with you and your story, that it's evolved over time.
Yeah, one of the most fascinating aspects of your story is not exclusively that you spent time in a domestic violence shelter for women, but the fact that that also allowed the pet. And the reason is because, as I've come to understand, is because too often people will remain in an abusive relationship because they don't want to leave and have their pet remain. And further, as you pointed out, too often, if somebody's abusing the person, they're probably also or capable of abusing the pet. So those two points alone are fascinating and intriguing and of massive interest to the right people. So if you can even just take one or two or three of those seeds and start talking about it and figuring out, it doesn't have to directly relate to your business. Of course it does, because it's why you started it. But just start talking about these ideas. I had no clue that those shelters existed or that it was a problem. And you have to assume that people don't. And you're the one offering it because you experienced it, you lived it, you have the desire and the passion and the motivation by having gone through this to have started what you do. So hopefully, as you even go down this path and you start jotting down things, maybe you'll start remembering some stories, some conversations you've had, some real interactions you remember, that then you take those small, medium, large in length, and you just put those out on social, whatever your social platform of choice is. Pick one, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, whatever it is, and just start that dialogue. You are going to be incredibly surprised who steps up and says, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're talking about this. Let me tell you my story." You're going to get private messages. You're going to get DMs. People are going to say, "I was that woman you were talking about. That was me." I'm getting the chills just talking about it, right? That was me you were describing. That's the goal for everybody tuning in. That's what happens. That's what I experience when I'm on a video or I write something or I'm on stage or I'm on a panel and I talk about my story. Eric and I, a couple months ago, were in Florida at a podcast conference. I was on a panel. I shared my story. And what happened at the end? People surrounded me afterwards and said, "You were describing me." And then they're having conversation. Did I sell anything? Did I have to say what I'm offering? No, but that winds up happening at that first interaction where you're the gatekeeper. You allow people in by becoming attractive. Again, the literal sense of that word and definition. I became attractive to the right people. Then naturally, they're going to continue to pay attention. They're going to naturally be interested in what I have to offer because I'm speaking their language, because I'm speaking my own language. So that's sort of what you have to start doing. Does that help and make sense a little bit?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, I think, like you were saying, I think a lot of people just don't know, which makes sense because unless you've worked in that field or that's something that's on your radar, why would you know? So I think you're right. Just talking more about that, and then also on the back end of my business, I want to figure out how we can make an impact, a positive impact. So are there things that we can do like volunteering? Is there a way that we can donate to help those people? So I think there's just
Hmm.
an endless amount of things that can come from this. And it's really exciting. I'm excited making this connection. And it seems so simple too. I'm like, why didn't I realize this 6.5 years ago?
Yeah,
And
you've said some things. Sorry, Josh, let me jump in for a second.
no, please.
You've said some things that really resonated with me, and I think that it's the starting point of your story, which is this I really loved, and I thought was powerful. That being fully transparent, that you're saying my story stopped when my business began, and now I'm bringing it to light. Here's really what happened. And you talk about your social work, you talk about your passions with helping people, because ultimately, yes, you're helping pets, but you're helping the people that own the pets and the people that are passionate about about those members of their family. So I think as you start to tell your story more and more and highlight the fact that you've connect that could be part of the story, sort of meta, where you're like, hey, I've found a new resurgence in the business because now here I'm sharing something very close and personal. And I want to give that to you because I think it will help. So I think that's really powerful. And also, I think because you're so industry, you're using the term fear free and force free, which that was the first time I had ever heard that. So I think that if you go in with the idea that I'm talking to people like, me, that aren't aware of these terms, and you say them over and over, at first it's going to feel like I keep saying the same things. But as your audience grows, you have to imagine someone's hearing it for the first time. Say there's other people. So, and the thing is, it applies to humans and animals,
Yeah.
right? That
Ooh,
fear free, force free is perfect in relationships because
wow.
and in any relationship, whether it's parent to child. So I think that you're going to be able to resonate with people on a deep level
Yeah.
in order to start to build organically your business.
Yeah. Well, I agree. And I think it's so cool too, because like you said, it's going deep. Like this kind of comes down to like people's values, and that's a deep thing to talk about with your dog walker. I mean, we talk about all sorts of different
That's
things.
what sets you apart. You're a dog walker that's not thinking about what kind of leash should I buy, what kind of bag should you use. You're like the deep thinking, feeling, and passionate person, the
Yeah.
president of pet care, where you're different. That's unique to your story is going to set you apart from everyone else.
There are there are a couple of incredible things, Eric, you brought up. The fact that Lauren is just mentioning fear-free and force-free in any business we're in, we have what's called the curse of knowledge. We are so close to our vernacular, to our things, to our industry, that we sometimes take for granted that what we're saying, everybody just knows what I'm talking about. It's the curse of knowledge. It's a thing. If you want more on that, Google it. You can go down all day and read about what the curse of knowledge is in your business, and you'll be able to be aware of it. So fantastic that Eric pointed that out. And another thing is that Eric, you also said that it might feel like you're saying it over and over again. And then you further pointed out that that's okay because there'll always be more and new and different people in the pipeline who are hearing your message. However, even for the people who have been hearing you from day one need to hear it. Guess what? I've been in hiding for 40 plus years, right? I'll say it all day. You have to, right? That's the point. Eric has said, I'll never get tired of hearing it. Lauren said, I second that. I'll never get tired of hearing that. Great. Thank you. Why? I don't know, but I'm going to keep saying it, right? I mean it. I'm deliberate. I'm authentic, and I appreciate all of that. So I just keep saying it and saying it and saying it and tying it into whatever works. Now, also, the other incredible thing for you, Lauren, is that once you start saying this, you're not only going to attract the people who are that exact demographic, unfortunately, who can relate to what you're talking about, but my goodness, someone like me, let's say if your ideal demographic is a woman, domestic violence with a pet, let's say I'm none of those things. I'm a compassionate human being. I'm still attracted to you. I'm still perking up. I'm still paying attention. So imagine that. Now you have overflow. You still hone in on who that person you're talking to is, but you're going to attract a big audience. So don't be afraid to say it over and over and over again. Don't assume people know what it is and know that these exist. No, they don't know your story, your involvement with it. So go forth confidently with that.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Lauren, just wanted to thank you again for participating and being an active member of our growing community. We really, truly appreciate you. And yeah, we're gonna connect. We're gonna help. We want to be more involved, and
we want to watch this.
in.
We want to
check in.
watch this, right? Why shouldn't we? And if anybody watching, whether you're on live or you're catching this on the replay, if you have questions, thoughts, or comments about this specifically for Lauren, put them in. Put them in the chat, put them in the comments. Let us know what you're thinking about what we just discovered and what we walked her through.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Lauren.
it.
We appreciate you. We'll be in touch.
Thank
Love your story.
you.
Show us what you're doing. Good.
So I think what's cool about Lauren is that she realized that there's a story to tell, and that she has a unique sort of thing that she could share with people that will grow her business in ways that other people just won't connect, their story, because hers is unique. So who wouldn't want
Oh my God.
to have someone, because as a pet owner or previous, I've had dogs, I've had cats. They're a member of the family, truly. And you love them unconditionally as they love you. And you, of course, if someone's going to take care of, just like a babysitter for your child, you want to know that this person loves what they do. They love and care for themselves and the people around them. So why wouldn't they be able to give that to a pet, a loved pet in your family? So yeah, Lauren, we're more than happy to jump in to help you craft that if you need it. And I just wanted to sort of dovetail this into how this works for you beyond. So say Lauren is the perfect sort of person that we can help past, what we're doing here, because we've put together this thing called PodMax Global, where there's tons and tons and tons of people. If you go onto podmax.co, you'll see all the testimonials of people talking about how this event helped them. And pre-COVID, pre all of the madness, we were able to gather as a tribe and sort of get together and talk about how we help each other and how we can implement each other's businesses and integrate each other's, businesses together to help. So now that we don't have that, we're launching it to the virtual world. We're bringing that to you like this. So Lauren is the perfect example of someone that can come through as her story has been crafted. She's putting that message out there. She can start to exercise that story live on podcasts, because that's what PodMax Global does. It gets your message out there to more and more people. If you don't have a community or a tribe that you've built yet, or it's still in its infancy, you can leverage other people's communities by going on their podcast, because they have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of listeners that already know, like, and trust and love them to death. Now we give people the opportunity to join in that show and share their story about their passions and tell people that normally wouldn't hear about who they are and what they do by going onto their podcast. So check it out at podmax.co. And also, if you want to know more, you want to be clued and tuned in and messaged when these masterclasses kick off, or the PodMax Global is kicking off, just text us at 33777. And if Jake, you can run that down there, 33777, and just hit PodMax text that to that number and we'll keep you in the loop.
I love that you brought up the PodMax Global initiative that we're doing, which is really our PodMax live event taken to a virtual platform. And it's no secret that On Air Brands, we play heavy in the podcast space. But there are a lot of different spokes around that. How do you make the most of if you're a podcast host? Certainly, how do you make the most if you're a podcast guest? Both answers are the same. The spokes, some of them are exactly what we're talking about here. You don't just wake up one day and you have your podcast or you guest on shows. It's about doing this legwork so you can then be the best version as the host or the guest. Every podcast host knows that in order to gain awareness for your show and for your brand and therefore for your products and services, it makes sense to guest on all other shows as you can. And in this context, for you listening, we're also telling you that, like Lauren's going to do, she's going to take her story now and put it out on social. Step 1. You know what step 1B is? To start going on podcasts, right? You know today that they're a good and strong and solid way to quickly and efficiently get your message out. And that's just one win of the medium. My goodness, when you start guesting on shows, it puts you really into a different category. And it's something that you can get better at over time. The more you do it, the better you get. But it starts with guesting on one show and then another show and another show. So whether you attend PodMax Global or not, you should probably look to guest on as many shows as you can. It's a little bit of a process to find the shows, to reach out, to schedule, to book, etc. It's not impossible, certainly. But if you want a shortcut to that, consider PodMax Global, where in the course of one day, you'll be back and done before dinner, and you will have guested on 3 shows. What? In one day. So if you want that, podmax.co is the place. Registration is currently open. And dare I say, the price point is so incredibly silly accessible. Yeah. It's $497. $497 period gets you the entire day. And it's not just guesting on 3 shows. You get to network with all the other high-level entrepreneurs, the other guests, the other hosts, the creators of the event, the keynote speakers that we just confirmed yesterday, not announced yet, but we will coming soon. Yeah. You're going to get to rub shoulders virtually with them, and you're going to get training and education all day that you can apply immediately. Case in point, if you were to do the legwork to get yourself on 3 shows, it might take a little bit of legwork and a lot of time. If you were to hire somebody or a business to book you on 3 shows, it's going to cost anywhere from $100 to $200 per show that they're going to book you on. Still going to take several weeks, if not longer, to do that and to get them out. One day, 3 shows, everything else, less than $500. We're doing it with you and for you. Come join us, podmax.co.
It's a beautiful thing. And yeah, we have a big announcement coming. Not here, but yeah, we have a major keynote that we're going to share. He's going to have tons. Well, there's a little spoiler. He is going to have tons to share, and yeah, we're really excited to bring this new brand modified to hit everyone at home and to make it as frictionless and convenient as possible. So we're going to take this time to chat with the audience. Anyone who has any questions that they want answered, any way to participate, any aha or wow moments, because hey, you saw it. Lauren was engaged. She was learning and she was sharing her story, and we pulled her in. That could be you. That could definitely be you. And just let us know if how are we doing? If you like what we're doing, if you want more master classes, we do have 3 more scheduled after this, and then we'll be launching PodMax Global after. But yeah, we're more than happy to keep giving and providing value in ways that you can implement right away. So let's see, Jake, let us know or pop up anything that may have come through. Any questions? But I'll ask a question of you, Josh. This is one that always pops up to me, and you could riff on this. Is so I've got my story established. What next?
Oh my goodness. You got your story established. What next? Practice, rehearse it out loud as often as possible. Now, make no mistake, what we're talking about is going to take a little bit of work on your part, but you're smart, you're brilliant, you're in it, right? You're here for the long run. You're not afraid of some hard work. You're not afraid to roll up your sleeves and put pen to paper. That's what's necessary. A couple of years ago, when I started creating the Hidden Entrepreneur brand, I just had a vague idea of what I wanted from it and with it. And then I started creating my story from there. And I knew that I wanted to start going on shows and start speaking on stages. And my first order of business was to get the sound bites in order. So I knew my story. I knew the 40 years in hiding stuff. I knew then, my children helped me see a better way. I started taking deliberate and consistent action. So I just started getting the main bullet points in order, putting them on paper, seeing how they connect. And then whether I'm at home or in the car or in the office, you just need to start saying it. You need to start verbalizing it out loud. Don't just keep it in your head. Eventually, you're going to want to say it out loud to really commit that to muscle memory. And the big way to do this, again, whether or not you're yet a guest on podcasts, or you will, or aspire to, or look to, or excited by the idea of being a guest on shows, here's the big assignment you can work on. One of the first questions that any host will probably ask you is a form of, so tell me about yourself, right? It's a very difficult question for the untrained guest because you might not know where to go. If I didn't know what to consider, Josh, welcome. So tell us about yourself. Well, I'm the youngest of 3 sons. I live in New Jersey, and I love Three's Company. Wait, what? All
ramble.
True, by the way.
Yeah,
all true, but that's not the point, right? So it took me a little while to realize, wow, I don't particularly like that first question, but I'm a guest on their show. I'm probably going to be asked it. So I better do some work here. So my next order of business was to, okay, Josh, figure out what your 30 to 60 second soundbite for, hey, Josh, tell us about yourself is going to be. Whether you use that on a show or not, you take that chunk of soundbite, you take that chunk of story, and you work it in, and that becomes. So to give you the live example, Josh, tell us about yourself. Well, thanks for asking, and certainly thanks for having me on your show. Today, I am the hidden entrepreneur, and that's because I spent 40 years hiding. I showed up in every situation hiding all of my talent, all of my skill, all of my ability in exchange for seeking approval. Now that gets very tiring very quickly. Thankfully, today I'm blessed with 2 adoring children, a 6-year-old daughter, a 4-year-old son, who early on really helped show me a better way of being. I knew that I didn't want to continue to be this angry, miserable, depressed father and person in front of them. So I put in the work to slowly but surely, deliberately and consistently replace all of my destructive, non-serving habits to better ones. And here I am living a much better life because of it. And that gets the conversation going. So to wrap up and answer your question more succinctly, Eric, what you do once you have your story, practice it, rehearse it, commit it to memory, and eventually add to it, evolve it, get it out there, see how it resonates, and adjust it accordingly.
love it. I want to address this and answer this, and thank Lauren again for participating and being part of our class here. Truly appreciate you. So she asks, how would those of us with employees and team members be able to speak my story and the company story.
What a
So
great
this is a
question.
great question, and it is something that I have already worked through, and I've seen others do it. So, Lauren, to answer your question, and thank you again, is um, I wouldn't be too concerned with having that story be shared by your team members yet. Have establish your story, get very comfortable with telling that story. What's going to happen organically is when others on your team start talking about the company and how much they love working with you and your company, they're going to share the story just by default. Like, hey, our owner, Lauren, has a passion for people, which turned into a passion for pets. You know, they're going to be able to, because it's going to become part of their DNA. Like, I can easily, subconsciously start telling Josh's story because it's in my mind because I hear him. Same thing. He tells my story all the time. I hear him saying, Eric was in corporate America for over 20 years and he realized that he needed the next, thing. And it's easy because once they start to hear you consistently over time, it'll just become natural. And what's wonderful about that and what I love about your story is that it truly pulls on heartstrings and it's not fake. It's real. It's something that people will connect to and want to be a part of, want you to be a part of their lives, want you to be a part of their pets' lives because they know you're passionate about your story and they see that your staff is passionate about your story. And then it will start to inspire them to tell their story on how it's sort of fused with you and your brand. So I think be a little bit less concerned with how it's going to trickle through the company because it's just going to happen by nature. You telling your story will start to fuse with the companies.
Absolutely, perfectly. I was getting the chills as you were talking about that because it's so on point. Can I address Lauren's other comment here?
Throw it up on the screen, Jake.
Yeah. I love that you didn't try. There you go. I love that you didn't try to have everything planned out, Josh. You had a general concept and then allowed the process to do its part and your story shaped itself. This can be the headline, the bumper sticker for everything we are talking about here. What I was talking about 2 years ago, when I first started really getting familiar with the story in real time, some of it changed because I change, we change, I learn, I adapt. So the general core and concept is there, probably stronger, but other pieces of the puzzle. And that's what you have to realize. Don't be too concerned with, okay, I have to put something out there and then I'm off and running. No, it's all loose. It's all a framework. You're a living and breathing and adjusting person. On podcasts, when I would guest, I used to talk about certain things that, I'm like, nah, I got stronger and more personal stuff to talk about now. I really have a concept of life and death now that, when appropriate, I talk about in a very powerful way, and how I bring that to the table. That didn't exist early on, but I was able to find it along the way because I'm very aware of who I am, what my message is, and you should always look to gain as much self-awareness as possible, and then just start looking for things. Start keeping an eye out for stories and an ear out for, okay, how does that relate to overcoming fear, or trying to be the best father, or trying to make the biggest impact in life before we die, right? So once you start, you'll start. Keep a notebook, keep an app where you just always, oh my gosh, I just saw this in the supermarket. I got to jot that down. I got to start talking about this, and then just start talking about it.
It's beautiful. So we're coming to the end of our masterclass. I love how time flies when we're doing these things because it means that we're doing something right and that's something that we're passionate and love. So thank you everyone for tuning in. We just wanted to remind everyone that the next masterclass will be next Friday, and I can't believe it. It's May 1st. So May 1st, next Friday, we will be focusing on what, Josh?
We're going to be focusing on the second C, which is community. It's how you take all of this that we just spoke about. Now you have more of a familiarity of your story. You have more knowledge and insight of your story. Now, how do you start taking this and attracting the right community of people, as Eric called it, your tribe around you? And who is our special guest? I'm excited. Look how excited I got. I didn't even
really. John has a man crush on this guy, and I didn't understand why he had a man crush on this guy until I met him personally, and I was like, I get it. This guy is tight and he's brilliant, and we're so appreciative of him being a part of this, being a part of our community and tribe. So you say it. This is your dude. My dude.
It's Ever Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Ever Gonzalez. He's the founder and creator of the Outlier HQ brand, which is the creator of the Outlier Podcast Festival. What a guy. What a strong person to be brought in to talk about gathering a community around your message and your brand. He's got all of that, and he's just a fantastic guy.
Who better to be a part of our community theme than a guy who's built a massive community of hundreds and hundreds of people that come to his Outlier events. So yeah, tune in next week when you'll be introduced to Ever Gonzalez of Outlier. Also wanted to thank Lauren again, because it was really, really a great experience, not just for us, but for the tribe of people that were watching. I'm sure they've learned and picked up some things and were inspired by you. And please reach out to Lauren. Her information is in the comments. And I also wanted to highlight how Lauren is the perfect and prime example of someone that can come through PodMax, someone who has a story that they want to hone, that someone that they want to, have access to podcasts that they normally wouldn't have access to, a community of people that are there for them, that want to hear your story, that want to expand and potentially learn from you or be inspired by you. So I highly recommend that you go to podmax.co. Again, if you think that you have a story that you want to share, you want to be able to get on more platforms. In my platforms, I'm meaning more podcasts, and get your message tight, get it really sharp, so that by the time you hit the stage, by the time you write that book, by the time whatever you do, that's the spoke on the wheel of your marketing plan and your business plan, you'll be ready, because it doesn't have to be perfect, folks. Get the story out there, start to practice. Like Josh said, I used to be so scared of hitting the stage and talking to people, and I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And my podcasting and being a guest, even if you listen to, it'd be hard to find, but early guesting on podcasts, I was stuttering, and I had the story, but I didn't have the flow yet.
Mm-hmm.
But how did I get there? By doing it over and over and over. So folks, I highly recommend any opportunity and chance you get to be on a podcast, to have opportunities like this. Lauren took it, right? We grow by tackling our fears. She was probably a little bit hesitant and fearful, and didn't hesitate, said, yes, I'm doing it, and growth happens as a result. So folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe. And if you're watching the replay, put replay before your comments so we know and we can hit you up and help you in any way we can. Josh, anything else? You want to take us home?
I have nothing else. That is it. Everything's been said. If it hasn't been said, it will be said. Thanks for tuning in. You can take us out now.
All right, brother. Thanks, Jake.